Well, many years ago, I taught history at Newton South High, and I've done other things in my life since I stopped teaching, which was quite a long. Used to play tennis, then I had an injury caused by tennis, and I kind of stopped playing tennis. I like, and I've always liked to garden, and that's my major activity aside from cleaning my own house. So those are two interests of mine. And 15 years ago, approximately, I had an injury to my back while I was gardening. Do a lot of bending when you're gardening. And so I had a lot of tests about that, and the tests definitely revealed I had some disc problems in my lower back, and I had physical therapy for that, and I was told at that time that it would be very useful to me because of the situation with my discs, to strengthen my core muscles, that could compensate for the condition of my discs. So I had a long period of physical therapy, and I slowly got better, and that was terrific. And over the course of 15 years, when you feel good and you're lazy, like I am, you get much less religious about doing your back exercises. And unlike Lenny, I'm not in love with physical exercise. I like to garden, that's it. So of course I began to do them less frequently. So that was one thing. But I always knew that strengthening my core was something I should be doing, okay? Then about 6 years ago, I had a partially torn rotator cuff, very painful injury. And probably, I had no idea that I did it at the time, but probably I did it at the club, lifting weights incorrectly. I also had physical therapy for that, and the person who was my therapist said most common way for people to injure themselves is they do something incorrectly, lifting a weight at the club. And I totally recovered from partially torn rotator cuff and never want to be in that situation again. So getting older and having had these two experiences and knowing my own personal laziness, it was sort of in the back of my mind, I have to get on a regular track with this. Then I noticed that, for whatever the reason, my balance wasn't as good as it was. And that was sort of the tipping point. I really became concerned about falling. So every once in a while, Boston Sports Club offers a free training session. And I think it was just a total accident that, this is my recollection now, that Lenny was the person and I signed up with him. And I really liked the fact that he was an older person, because that was like a connection for me. I mean, I have been going to the club for a long time. I saw all the young guys and some of the young women, and it wasn't that they were doing anything wrong. I just thought I don't think they really understand some of the concerns of an older person. And, you know, I just felt Lenny had that sort of long-term view like that. And then, I don't know, it just kind of clicked a little with him. So, even though you can edit this out, he's a stubborn Russian, and I'm a pretty stubborn woman myself. But he was very respectful of my goals, which were primarily to strengthen my core, to get stronger. But I don't mean to become Mrs. Schwarzenegger. I just wanted, I think I wanted not to get worse more than I wanted to get much better. I think Lenny stresses the importance of knowing body mechanics. And I don't think as any person can see themselves the way a trainer observes you, and he's quite observant. You think he's not looking, but he is looking. Lenny has very good eyes. You don't really feel his eyes are upon you, but they are upon you. And very subtly he will tell you, you know, get your shoulders down. And he's really big on body mechanics. And I don't think any person who's not in that field is as aware of body mechanics as he is. He's very well trained in that, and he's very interested in that. And I think he genuinely cares that you do things correctly. Well, I definitely feel like my posture's improved. And I think that's been gradual and slow. And of course, I told you before, I'm a lazy woman, so I don't do the exercises as frequently as Lenny encourages me to, as I should, etc. So all my changes have been extremely, I hope you emphasize the word extremely, gradual, because that's the truth, but they've been there, and I think I'm gradually getting stronger. And I think that's what's kept me continuing on this path. Another thing I would like to say is that Lenny does emphasize health. And we have some disagreements on the role of the medical profession. Any person working out with him should know this. But he emphasizes health and using your own body. So, you know, I'm not lifting really weights with him. I'm using my own body to get the weight of my own body, raising my arms, lifting my legs to improve my health. And I think that a result of that is you're much less prone to injury, which of course is very important to me, and I think to most people. He also, of course, asks you, what are your goals? And he does try, and he does tailor whatever he recommends to. He's matching with your stated goals, or he's fighting with you about your stated goals. I think there's hope. I think that's my first insight, is it's really possible, and I think I'm a good example of that. I think posture's been an issue for me my whole life, And I remember my mom yelling at me, stand up straight, etc. And I think Lenny's really helped me with that. So that's definitely something I notice. I do think I'm stronger. As I said, it's been slow, but steady. It's there. Of course, I have to do my part, which, as mentioned, needs improvement. Lenny is encouraging. But he's not falsely encouraging. I mean, he's not a rah-rah kind of a guy. At least he's not that way with me. I don't know whether he's different with different people. I doubt it, but there you know. But if you're the sort of person who respects that, that's good for you. And that's who I am. Well, first of all, one of the things that's been very interesting to me personally is to notice my own mind-body connection or lack thereof. Okay, so a couple of months ago, last year, I think, Lenny had a class on coordination and balance, and because that was very much on my mind, I took the class in addition to the personal training. So I think there were like 6 other elderly people in the class, maybe one woman who was still like upper middle-aged in the class, okay. Men and women, and they're there for different reasons, okay. And because I had been training with Lenny for a while, I was aware of a lot of things he was trying to get across. But in the class, he was compressing a lot of that information and trying, there were 6 sessions, diverse group, and he was trying to get that information across more efficiently and quickly, okay? One of the things I really noticed was that he would say something in the class, and there was one gal in that class, and she just understood it, and I didn't. He would say it, she would do it. And I would be saying, you know, what does he mean by your pelvis should go left? I had no idea. I've been working with him for 1.5 years. I still had no idea. So, if you understand what I mean by mind-body connection, intellectually understanding what part of your body he's referring to, how that works, how you want it to move, so that you can accomplish the goal that you want, the physical goal that he wants you to do and that you might want to do. For me, that's very hard. Coordination. That's something that's a learning curve for me. Functional fitness is an appropriate issue for everyone, anyone, at any age. Certainly once you hit middle age, which is now defined as what? I don't know, you tell me. You know, 60 is the new 40, whatever. I really think it's wise to have that on your mind. I mean, I know so many people, I'm sure you do too, hip replacement, knee replacement, fall with a bad injury, probably a life-changing or possibly a life-changing injury. I think I've always believed an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Lenny has a wonderful emphasis on health, which I appreciate, value, and respect. Okay. That said, the medical profession has something to contribute. And sometimes these two points of view meet at a certain point. And one of those parties is a little not happy about that. So a person has to know that. However, you can't argue with results, and those, they speak for themselves, but you have to know that. I am not your typical person. So I started by saying I had issues with my back 15 years ago, and I knew from that experience that strengthening my core was something I should be doing for the rest of my life, okay? So, and then I got lazy, I told you that, okay? So this past, I think it was April, long Passover Seder, sitting for like 3 hours in a bridge chair with no lower back support, okay? No can do. That's poison for me, okay? So my back, after 15 years, acted up again, really badly. And so I told Lenny, and he immediately I started thinking about, really focusing on that for me, which was, I really was happy he was doing that. So that's slowly been getting better. Again, I'm the slow worker, all right. But we had a trip to California coming up. This was 3 weeks ago. And when I knew that, I was really seriously worried about that. We were coming back on the red-eye flight so we could spend another day with our children. And, it's a 6-hour flight, and many times I've had the experience on that flight where you cannot get up, there's air turbulence, etc., and you're just stuck in that seat. And I know that sitting for long periods of time, that's poison for my back. So, I expressed these concerns, and Lenny was very respectful of my concerns, and he said, well, you're going to have to exercise on the plane, turbulence or no turbulence. So naturally, given flying these days, you don't want to be considered a nut on a plane. So he's like, you have to do it, and I'm thinking, is the air marshal on the plane? All right. But he really did go over with me what he thought I couldn't do on the plane, including I should go to the restroom and exercise in the restroom. It was necessary. And let me tell you right now that I did not do that. Okay. But I did do exercise. I got up out of my seat, and I did practice, and I did do, especially on the red-eye flight, I did do that. And I really think it did help me.